This video is sponsored by Skillshare, an easy way to make your own practice puppets.
To the puppet nerds of the world, this may sound absurd, but this is the place you need to be. We'll do an interview and then we'll stitch and glue all of the dolls, we'll make it shake. If you wanna be in the know and to play like a pro, subscribe to Crutinger Puppets.
Adam Crutinger here, and today I wanted to talk about and teach you how to make your very own practice puppets. Now you might wonder why you might want or need one of these types of puppets. Well, they come in really big handy when it comes to practicing, especially if you're someone who travels a lot. Rather than carrying around a big puppet or even a small puppet that fits in a small bag, this is something that can easily fit in your pocket. And at the end of the day, it's the only thing you really need to practice puppetry. In fact, years ago, there was an entire show using this style of puppet. You might remember it was called Ubi, and if you want to learn more about that, we actually had the performer of Ubi, Tim Lagasse, on our podcast. Be sure to check that out. Tim has some amazing stories, and for more information on his work, make sure to check out timlagasse.com. And if you don't want to make a practice puppet, you don't have to. You can purchase some too. There's a really great company called Peepers Puppets. Even though they look simple, they produce a really high quality product. I think Party City has some knockoff ones, but they're really no good. They don't have eye focus. Often they have like googly eyes on them. The ones from Peepers are extremely well made, and they'll last a lifetime. And especially if you're going to be doing a workshop with kids, or even with adults, it's handy to have a whole bag of them. I bought about 50 of them for doing workshops myself. However, being a maker, I often like to customize things, and I came up with a simple method on making my own practice puppets. Now, before we get into making it, I'm going to show you exactly how this practice puppet works. Traditionally, the peepers and things like it act almost like a ring. They go around your finger, which is really nice because they can't fall off. That's one of the benefits to having one of these ones. Again, like I said too, they're really high quality, professionally made, super light and super strong, and will last a lifetime. But this one works a little differently. You kind of have to keep it pinched. All you do is you put it between your fingers like this, and you're really just holding it in place. But it really takes no stress at all. It almost just feels like you're wearing a ring. I don't even have to pinch it hard, and it will stay there pretty easily. Hey buddy, it's nice to meet you. Is it nice to meet me? Ugh. Wow, I really like your necklace there. It's a watch. I made mine using one of these. This is a little knob for a drawer. You can get these really cheap at any hardware store. And I really like the ones that curve like this. It makes it much more comfortable for your hand where it curves right there. It comes with a little screw for the back end too. Make sure to check the description for a link to these down below. After you have one of these little knobs, you'll also need a little piece of scrap wood. I found for this project, a little piece of 1x2 works perfectly. And I like to cut it down into little 3-inch sections like this. So those are the main materials you need, so let's get started. The first thing I want to do is mark the center of this. That's for when I drill the hole a little bit later. That hole is going to be used to attach this knob to the bottom just like this. Now you can style these eyes however you want. They can be plain, they can be really goofy or look angry. It can really be whatever you want. Today I'm going to make a simple pair. If you want to, you can really measure this out to make it precise. Now before I cut this out, I want to drill that hole into the bottom. And now the drill bits you're going to need are going to depend on the size of the screw. You want one drill bit that's the same size or a little bit bigger than the head of the screw. Mine happens to be 3/8. And you'll need another one the size of the body of the screw. This one happens to be 5/32. And all I'm going to do is use the bigger drill first to make a hole straight in the center. And I'm only going to go about halfway down. That way we can sink the head of the screw in. And then I'm going to go the rest of the way through with this one, puncturing all the way through to the bottom. Then switch it out for the smaller one. So let me check the fit on these holes. That side fits in perfectly, and so does this. Now what I have to do is cut out this silhouette of the eyes that I want. For that, I'm going to use a coping saw like this. Kinda like that. Now once you have it like this is kind of optional, but I like to really round out these edges. And I use a really heavy grit sandpaper for that. This is a 50 grit sandpaper. I like to completely take that edge off. It just makes the eyes feel a bit more round to me. You could go crazy and make this completely kind of spherical or oval-like, but I think that's kind of overkill for this, especially since it's just for practice. What you can also do is carve in some details as well. You could carve some wrinkles under the eyes, kind of cut out a little valley here to make it seem more like it's two separate eyes. Actually, I think I'm going to try to do that. So I'm going to make a valley right about right there. And for that, I'll use a utility knife. Make sure you're being very careful when doing this and using a new knife. It's a small detail, but I'm gonna sand in there too, and I think it's gonna make it look pretty nice. That looks pretty good to me. Now it's time for a little bit of paint. For painting a lot of things in puppetry, I made one of these, which is pretty handy. All it is a scrap piece of wood with some screws put through it just like this along the bottom. That makes it really easy to take some little props and puppet pieces and just put them on like this so that you can paint around the whole thing really easily. Works really good for all kinds of eyes and things like that. So now let me paint this up. I'm just gonna use some white spray paint. Okay, there we have it all painted up. Now what I'm going to do is attach the knob. First thing, I just take this screw and drop it down into that hole. You might have to use a screwdriver to push it all the way down, just like that. And then I will just thread this on. You might have to tighten it on with your screwdriver too. Just like that. And there we go. We have our little practice puppet ready to be designed. Now this fits perfectly between my fingers here to make a nice little puppet. Now is the fun part, which is designing it. I had a ton of fun designing a bunch of these. It's amazing how much variety you can really get. Here's one I did with these cool little eyelids. Kind of makes him look worried or sad. This guy looks kind of stern too with this flat top on the eyes. I have this angry looking set here. I made this guy's eyes kind of crazy. You can see I did little lines with a red Sharpie to make it look bloodshot. This guy looks really crazy. And I even did these kind of very simple, plain, really big pupil eyes too to make the character look pretty young. And here's even a one-eyed version that I think is pretty funny too. The possibilities really are limitless. You could also experiment with adding a nose and long hair. There's so many options. For this one today, I'm going to leave it pretty plain and just add some simple, smaller pupils. I'm just going to use these little stuffed animal eyes like this. And to attach them, I'm just going to use some super glue. But you could probably also use some hot glue as well. And just like that, I've got this simple little practice puppet. So you can kind of see the difference between my design and the Peepers. The Peepers acts more like a ring around your finger, and these ones you have to kind of pinch it between your fingers, but it's still really comfortable. If you make any of these crazy practice puppets, I would love to see them. Like I said before, they're really handy. They fit right in your pocket. You can make a couple, leave one in your car, leave one in your classroom, or really wherever you want. They also make great gifts. If you make any of these, I would love to see your designs. Make sure to tag me on Instagram. And you can also share them in our Facebook group. The Facebook group is called Puppet Nerd Tutorial Q&A. That's a great place to connect with me and to get a lot of feedback on your work. But I especially have to thank our sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. You can explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. And my favorite thing about it is it is curated specifically for learning. That means there's no ads. Plus, they're also always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. A class I took recently was Productivity for Creatives by Thomas Frank. One of the things that he mentioned in the class that resonated with me on productivity was to focus on metrics that are going to push me forward in ways that matter to me, and not the way external pressures try to push me in. This was great advice because as a YouTuber, it's so easy to get caught up in the comments and what other people think you should do. These are things that are just going to distract you from being creative. So definitely check out that class, but there's a bunch of other great classes too. They have classes in illustration, graphic design, animation, and I even created my own puppet building class too. My class takes you through an entire build from beginning to end, including the pattern making. And if you act now, the first 1,000 people who use the link down in the description will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare, so you can explore your creativity. Make sure to check out that Skillshare link. It really helps support this channel. And for any more puppetry news and activities, make sure to check out puppetnerd.com. Anyway, that's it for now, and I'll see you next time.